Hey guys, it's Alec the Science Kid here, and I have a super awesome guest with me today. It's the one and only Steve Spangler. This guy makes science so much fun, and that's why he is one of my biggest role models in science. He is the founder of SteveSpanglerScience.com. He's an author, a toy designer, a professional speaker, has 2 awesome YouTube channels, 6 Science and the Spangler Effect, where you can watch the most awesome science experiments ever. He's also a 2-time Emmy Award winner and has made numerous guest appearances on my favorite comedian's TV show, The Ellen DeGeneres Show. Is there anything I forgot to mention?
Well, I was voted most likely person not to get out of the 4th grade. But other than that, I think you've covered absolutely everything.
Oh wow. Okay, so thank you so much, Steve, for coming on the show. This is a dream come true. You are one of my biggest role models. And if I ever start to stutter or anything, it's because I'm super excited about talking to you.
You know how cool you are. Now listen, the first things first, I think I'm just going to keep your number on speed dial, so if I ever have a bad day, I'm just going to call you and say, Alec, would you just say all that stuff again? Because none of it's true, but I am absolutely honored that and excited that you would call. And the thing I'm most excited about is, here is this kid who is 13. Have you turned 14 yet, or are you still 13?
I'm 13. I'm turning 14 in April.
Nice. I have a 14-year-old at home, so I get 13, 14. I know what this is all about. and I am so excited that you are fired up about this. There's a lot of kids that are passionate about things, but you've taken it to the whole next level. I love Flydoodle.com. I love the books that you've done. It really is cool to see the videos and the things that you're doing with your local television. You are good. If there was ever an apprentice program for science guys or science demonstrators, you're enrolled at the top of the class.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Okay, so first question. Steve, you first started out as a science teacher, right? So
I did.
What made you decide to cross over into being more of a public figure in science?
Well, one of the things you need to, you're going to learn, Alex, later on, is that when you're a teacher, you get the opportunity to also have other jobs to help supplement your income, because unfortunately we don't seem to pay teachers what they're worth, and so you find other opportunities to feed your family. There's a piece out there that says, what's the difference between a science teacher and a pizza? And the answer is a pizza can feed a family of 5. So you always are constantly trying to find something new to do. And so I wanted to be a chemistry teacher. That's what I trained to do. I went to the University of Colorado at Boulder with a degree in biochemistry. But when I decided that it was time to teach, there were some things in education that were happening in Colorado, and it didn't make it the most favorable time for teachers necessarily at the high school level. And so I took a job in an elementary school teaching science, and got the opportunity because of doing demonstrations and visibility and all those, I guess, other things that happen. One person talks to another person, and there just happened to be a television producer who saw what we were doing there and invited me to be a part of that first show called News for Kids. So
that is really cool.
It wasn't a conscious decision to jump over. It was just an opportunity, and it was one of those things that turned out very well.
That is really cool, and what I love about you is that you make up these really cool science experiments that anyone can do at home. And what I noticed about Bill Nye is that he does crazy science experiments, but you can't necessarily do them at home. And that's what I love about you. So, what's the craziest science experiment that you've ever done?
Well, can I tackle your question a couple different ways, because I think there's maybe a comment that we should kind of talk about making science accessible. One of the things that I've noticed with your videos as well is that when you use common household kinds of things, it makes science, and it makes the demonstration, because it's not really an experiment, right? When we knock the eggs into the glass of water, that's not an experiment, it's a demonstration that kind of gets people talking, and then you start asking new questions, and you can turn it into an experiment. But that makes it very viral from the standpoint of not viral like you and I would think on the internet or YouTube, but it makes it viral from the standpoint of somebody shows it to somebody else, and you're at a party and you show it to somebody, or you're at at dinner, whatever it might be. And I think that's one of the secrets. And that's why I think there's a lot of room for all the people who are out there doing different science experiments on television and wherever else, because we need the ones that we can't do. So we need the Bill Nye kinds of things, and we need the things that you can do at home. And so that's great that way. But you asked, how do you take in kind of the craziest thing that's happened with regard to just using household items? It wasn't until we linked up with the people at the Ellen DeGeneres show, and I think it was, I don't know, maybe the fourth or fifth time we had been on doing experiments, and I mentioned that just because there was a sense of trust, but we were also a little bit nervous when the producer said to me, "So what do you want to do this time?" And I pitched the ideas for the experiments, and he came back and said, "So what would be extreme?" Because I wanted to do this Ubalik thing. I wanted to do a non-Newtonian fluid using cornstarch and water. For the people who are listening, if you've never done it before, I'm sure Alec has it on his website, or we'll put a link to our website. But it's just mixing cornstarch and water in a proportion that it acts like a liquid and a solid at the same time. And the idea was that if you could mix enough of that, you could probably fill a pretty big bathtub, and then if you walked quickly, you could literally walk across water. If you stopped, you would immediately fall and sink. But if you kept running, that non-Newtonian fluid would turn into a solid, and you literally could walk on water. So next thing that happened is the producers of the Ellen show said, "Well, if you were to do it, what would you need?" And literally here we are kind of extrapolating what we would need. That's not something that's easy to practice. And so if you ask about the most extreme thing, it was the time that on the Ellen show we mixed 2,500 boxes of cornstarch in a cement truck and did the famous walk-on-water trick now.
That would be so fun to do. That I never tried that. That's what I want to do. And
so here's what I want you to do. Just ask your, and Alec, I'm going to give you some advice. Just ask your mom and dad for Christmas, can I please have 2,500 boxes of cornstarch? You're going to need a forklift and just a dump truck or a cement mixer for a couple hours. But it's gonna, if your mom and dad love you, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's my advice to you, okay?
That would be so fun to do. That would be really cool. And on your YouTube channel, you have lots and lots of science experiments and lots of fun things. Do you have a science lab in your house? Because I picture a really big science lab in your house.
Well, it started in the house, and I grew up in a family of professional magicians. So when I was a kid, other magicians in the world would come and seek out my father for his technical expertise in helping them with their act. So, for example, there's a young and unknown magician by the name of David Copperfield, that of course we all know today. But David actually came to the house when I was probably 10 years old to work with my father on a routine that he was working on, and met with some of the magicians in the Denver area. And so I kind of grew up in this household where science and magic and all these things kind of came together. My dad was great and is a great scientist, but as a hobby was a professional magician. So you can kind of see how the two mix together. So, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So when I decided to venture off into my own thing, it was truly, I had learned it before by seeing what my parents had done at home. And so the science laboratory started in the house. You're absolutely right. And there's nothing that says honeymoon better than when you take your new bride on her honeymoon, and you just happen to stop by the Boston Museum of Science, or whatever science center's on the way, whatever thing you're supposed to happen. She knew early on that she was in for something. And in fact, I met my wife in high school doing science demos. So it's like total nerd alert, but that's how the whole thing happened. But now we have, jump fast forward, now SteveSpanglerScience.com is a business in the Denver area. We're based out of Denver. There's about 40 people or so that have employment at SteveSpanglerScience.com. And this is kind of, I call it my playroom or my lab for being able to create items that we sell through SteveSpanglerScience.com and through our catalog. Then we own another company called Be Amazing Toys. and that's a wholesale division, which means it's just mass market. So if you go to Target or you go to any of the larger stores and you look in the toy section and there's some science toys, you'll find a number of them created by a company called Be Amazing Toys, and that's our other company that produces things like Insta Snow and the Mentos Geyser and the Geyser Car and slime things and all the other things that are sitting out there that way.
That's cool. And how do you come up with these science experiments? Like, they got to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, don't they?
Well, I think it's probably as simple as remembering what you did as a kid, and that is you got to play. So I'm 46 years old, so I still play, and the people who are around me will tell you that I probably never grew out of about the 8th grade mentality, which is playing and finding new things to be able to do, and you have to do that. So, many people could argue, you look at all the people who are doing science experiments, you and I aren't doing anything new. We're doing the same kinds of science experiments. What makes it different, however, is that nobody does a science experiment the way that Alec does a science experiment, and hopefully I've added my own style to doing a science experiment as well. So when we get to this point here, people are watching not so much for the experiment, but for our twist, or maybe our special interpretation of that, and we're all using the science demonstrations to be able to further a different cause, and ours just happens to be making science fun and creating these unforgettable learning experiences.
Right. And back to the Ellen DeGeneres show, I always looked up Ellen DeGeneres show clips on YouTube because I think she is by far the funniest person on the planet, and I came across one of the videos of you on it, and she's got to be like the coolest person you've ever met. Who is the coolest person you've ever met?
She definitely ranks up there. I've never been around anybody that was more of a rock star celebrity than Ellen DeGeneres. And she has just been very, very nice to us over the years and has really encouraged us, helped us with the first two kind of big picture books that we did called Naked Eggs and Flying Potatoes, and the other one was our Fire Bubbles and Exploding Toothpaste book, and both of those books feature experiments that we had done or demonstrations we had done on her show. So, by far and large, she's the rock star, and it's amazing to be able to kind of see what that looks like, and to meet the wonderful people who are around her that are able to help her kind of pull off that experience. But there are other people that are. I met this kid. His name's Alec, and he has a website called Flydoodle. I don't know if you know him or not, but he is this up and coming science star that you got to keep your eyes on.
Thank
Check
you.
him out if you get a chance. Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna take a super duper fast commercial break. So don't go anywhere. Anasazi Bookstore is the best independently owned used bookstore. Anasazi Bookstore has been located at 10540 West Indian School Road in the Villa de Paz Plaza for over 18 years. Anasazi Bookstore has over 60,000 books, including many genres, to name a few: mystery, adventure, fantasy, science fiction, and romance. They also have a fantastic trade credit program. Check them out at anasazibookstore.com, Facebook, or feel free to call them at 623-877-5336. O-Day Printing is Scottsdale's finest professional printer since 1955. O-Day Printing delivers affordable, high-quality color printing and production services for your business and personal needs. For over 50 years, their family-owned company has taken pride in providing high-quality printing and great customer service. They understand the importance of first impressions and quality of the presentation, and they have the experience, resources, and dedication necessary to get your projects done correctly, on time, and within budget. So call them at 480-947-7757. They look forward to hearing you. Sun Cellular at 3329 East Bell Road, Suite number 14, Phoenix, Arizona, is by far the best place to get your broken cell phone fixed. So call them at 602-267-7800. They look forward to hearing from you. Are you looking for the best cosmetic surgeon in Arizona? Then come on down to Peoria Cosmetic Surgery. Call Dr. Richard D. Fisher for the best cosmetic surgery. Call them at 602-876-9494 or go to them at 15396 North 83rd Avenue, Building A, Suite 301. They look forward to seeing you. Flydoodle Science is brought to you by Schumann, Adriano & Company, Certified Public Accountants. Flydoodle Science is also brought to you by Dr. Varuzhan Roseshian with Arrowhead Medical. Call them at 623-878-8999. And we are back with the one and only Steven Spangler. Okay, so Steve, how did you get on the Alec DeGeneres show?
Kind of focus around the fact that you're visible. You're doing exactly the same kinds of things you and other science teachers and other science enthusiasts are doing, and that is we take our things that we do, hopefully we have a unique twist on them, and we catch the eye of a producer. We catch the eye of somebody who is searching for that kind of experience. And it just happened to be that that personality and that chemistry seemed to work well with her producers, and they invited me to come on and to be able to share some of that. So, the secret to those kinds of things is that you do exactly what you're doing. You are as visible as possible, and as long as you keep on creating content and make it your own and make it unique in some way, then people look to you. If you become a commodity, if you're doing the same exact experiments that 5 other science people on YouTube are doing, then you really haven't differentiated yourself. So that's why you have to kind of take that little twist. And that's what we've tried to do with the YouTube channel. So to add one for you, our main YouTube channel, the one that has 600 to 800 science videos, is at youtube.com/Steve Spangler Science. And that's our main YouTube channel. And then the other channels that you were talking about, the Spangler Effect and Spangler Science TV and Six Science, are all subsidiary channels of that. And combined, there's probably 1,200 videos total that are sitting out there. And hopefully, one of those videos will catch the attention of a kid who might be struggling in science or may not like it, or maybe a parent who's trying to inspire their kid to do something in science. And if those videos can kind of help those people, then I think that we've done our job.
Right. And obviously you're a huge advocate for teaching more science in schools. So what do you think schools can do differently to make science more awesome for kids? And what do you think we can do more differently to get kids more involved in science and more excited about it?
Well, it's definitely a good question. And the question is a pretty deep question, and you and I could talk about it for a long time. I am an advocate for doing more science, but let me back up and make it a little bit more controversial. I'm an advocate for actually doing science in school. It seems that, and it's a message that I tell teachers all over the country, because all of my work now, when I'm speaking, is to teachers and educators and talking to them in ways of making science more engaging in the classroom. If we aren't careful, we're going to eliminate science education at the elementary level, because things like, they're all important, but reading, writing, and math are the things that are easiest to test, and so it makes it just easier to be able to spend more time doing that, and it's what gets the spotlight. Sometimes, unfortunately, science and social studies and other things that are very, very important get pushed off to the side, and so we try to make up for that by, doing a science week in April when the testing is all done, but it's become kind of extracurricular. And so what I try to teach teachers and try to impress upon administrators and parents is that science should be something that we start the school year off with, and it happens consistently throughout the year. And because that's an experience, and we can actually use our great eye-catching demonstrations as writing prompts, or we can use the math that's required to create some of these science experiences and activities to help teach math as well. But it can be isolated. We can't just have science time a couple times during the year. So it's really teaching teachers a new way to think and teach about managing their time in the classroom? This is a pretty long and complicated answer. I wish it was easier for you, but don't get me started because we can go for a long time.
Well, personally, I think it's just teachers have to have more hands-on stuff, like science experiments, because I notice that people in my school, they get bored when the teacher hands out paperwork and pencil.
Yeah.
So that's my
thought. To their credit, Alec, is many times they haven't been taught themselves. You have far more experience doing science demonstrations than the average science teacher that's probably out there because you focused on it. And to their credit, they haven't had the time to focus on it because they're focusing on other things. Their job and their responsibility is pushed in other directions. So we have to help teachers, and first of all, value what they do in their time, but we also have to help them in understanding that this isn't taking time away from them. This will actually kind of help them. And once the teacher figures that out, they become the rock star. They feel the same thing that you feel when you're on Fox and Friends, or you're doing a television segment, or you're out doing a live demonstration. When teachers feel that same kind of thing, that's a great adrenaline rush, and sometimes that renews their interest in teaching science.
So why do you think there is such a huge stereotype that science geeks are all nerdy, and how do you think we can change that perception?
Well, if people are good at creating these categories and they put people in this little placeholder, so to speak, so they can categorize them and they can describe them. And so somebody who loves sports can be that jock that's sitting over there, or somebody who's a bookworm is sitting over there. And you're right. Over the years, science geek has kind of taken on this. I don't know if it's a negative perception, but people consider it nerdy or whatever, but you're seeing that it really is, there's a resurgence that's here. It's almost geek chic, so to speak. There's not many people that watch a cool science demonstration and turn away from that. We see it on television all the time. These are extremely popular YouTube videos. We see reality shows all the time trying to copy the demonstrations and do them. Unfortunately, they don't get the science right all the time. But I think that with people like you and all of us who are trying to show more science, it's not just a person in a lab coat in a dingy lab doing an experiment. That persona really has disappeared, and we're finding some really cool things. I don't think anybody would argue that the Mythbusters are geeky. They may be geeky, but they're really cool, and people love the Mythbusters, and top-rated show for Discovery Channel, and that's not a bad thing. And so geek can be chic at the same time. It is fun, and I think that once people understand it and start to make it a little bit more interactive and they become engaged themselves, sometimes that negative stereotype disappears. So I think doing exactly what you're doing right now is so helpful, because the more people get involved and engaged, the more they have, the more data they have behind them. See, now all of a sudden I'm being nerdy, right? The more data they have behind them to support the fact that it's not, it's not just for brainiacs that are sitting in a lab all the time and have their nose buried in a book. There's some really, really cool things that are happening here, and you're kind of helping promote that positive persona, so to speak. Out of all the demonstrations, tell me the people that you watch online. Tell me, you've been very, very nice to watch our videos and so forth, and I appreciate all the nice things that you've said. But tell me what things look like for you. Who do you watch, and what would you like to do, and what new little twist would you like to add to your science moving forward, since you're taking this very public?
Well, what I think is, like I just said, more hands-on things would make kids more interested. And what I watch on YouTube is, I definitely watch you guys. And I'm addicted to astronomy. So I watch, how does the universe work, and, planets and stuff like that. And I think it's really interesting. And what science is to me is just playing around with your homework. It's just playing. And that teaches you, and you're playing around. So I suggest going on YouTube and searching fun science experiments, and that's what I did when I was little, and I got so addicted to it. You can even ask my mom. She would find crazy stuff in like the freezer or something. I just mix stuff and freeze it and call it a huge science experiment, and I thought I was going to make this time machine. So what I suggest is just going on YouTube or anything and just looking up science experiments or universe or just anything that you're interested in.
Well, it's a great way to do it, and the world changed. We had done the Mentos and Diet Coke experiment 4 times on television prior to it going viral. So back in 2000, 2001, I was actually teaching teachers how to do the demonstration and workshops in the 1990s, long before you. You were just a figment of your parents' imagination, right?
Right.
And but nobody really cared, and maybe people cared, but they didn't care to the extent that they would duplicate it. And thanks to this little tiny website that launched in about August of 2005 called YouTube, that nobody knew what to do with, all of a sudden things like this exploded, literally and figuratively as well. It literally took off, and it's because of people like you sitting there and searching and literally getting lost in all the things that are possible out there and wanting to recreate it. So you're helping promote that kind of that way of bringing science that's very, very complicated and many times stuff that's not reproducible into the home, so that we can experience it as students and science enthusiasts and teachers and just anybody who's excited about it.
Okay, Steve, well, it was really cool to have you come on the show and talk with me and my listeners. And for my listeners, don't forget to go to flydoodlescience.com and check out my 3 new books: What Does Outer Space Smell Like?, Do Birds Fart?, and my brand new one coming out in February, Why Are Some People Jerks?